start. Okay, Karen, why don't you start?
Okay, so welcome. We're happy to have everybody here for the middle school division. This is just a quick overview of our getting started process and where students can start with the process of science fair in their classroom. I'm Karen LeBeau. I'm the middle school state chair. I also help with Region 2 middle school, and I also help with MSEF with organizing kind of the behind the scenes of the high school fair and all the students who go to the international science fair. And we also have Becca Stendal, Director of Programming for MSEF, who will also be presenting a few of the slides. And Becca, do you want to say anything or?
Yep, I think we just want to share some of the resources that are around and sort of help teachers get started specifically on helping students choose a topic and setting up a journal today, but we'll kind of go over resources more broadly as well. So.
And just a quick overview of the chairs at the different regions. We have Jennifer at Westfield State, Lisa at WPI, which is our Central Mass location, Alex, which is our Southwestern at Bristol Community College, Carol Berry, which is Northeastern, not Northeaster, which is what we are getting today out there. And then Erin McQuaid at Regis College, which is Southeastern, and Carissa Goff, which is just the Boston Public Schools. And as of right now, we are on for May 21st at Worcester Technical High School. And that is also just kind of waiting for COVID protocols and everything. Will be forthcoming with information about that once we know everything as the date gets closer. But we are planning for an in-person fair this year, as is most regional fairs, which their dates are to be determined and just kind of waiting on the partner, their university partner.
So just to share the work that we've been doing with updating materials and making some things more accessible, we're calling this the Science Fair Ready Framework, with the idea that a lot of the work that you're already doing in your classroom, be it formal curriculum or just general instruction, there's elements you can add so that students are science fair ready. And so there's information on the website. It's at the Science Fair Ready link under programs and supports. But the materials are all linked through a Google Drive that you can access by filling out a form. And it goes through the process, which we've broken down into 4 steps in terms of observe, plan, explore, and explain. And then there's project guidance like timelines and what you need for your display board and project requirements, as well as any of the manuals. So I can walk through this. There's also resources on our YouTube channel to help direct and navigate how to use that information. There are also student-facing resources, some of which were created by students, and those are available as well, both to students or for you to share with students. So one part of that was this this graph that was created this summer by by a middle school teacher, actually, who worked with different scientists and teachers to break down what the design process is, depending on what type of project students do. So I think our default has typically been the science research process. But we know it looks different for engineering. And then when we look at, well, what does it look like for a math project or for a computer science project? We wanted to map that all out. So these materials and with examples broken down are all available on the Science Fair Ready framework. But I just wanted to put that up because I think it's been a helpful tool for people to think through, how do I support students to think through these steps if they're doing a math project or if they want to do a computer science project or whatever. And you see it all. There's definitely parallels between the process. So back to Karen.
So today's topic or meeting focuses on choosing a topic and how to help students through that process, and also setting up a notebook. I'll get into more of the details of the notebook, but just because of the type of year we are in, we are allowing digital notebooks again this year. We at first thought we were going to be able to just go right back to our composition notebook, but we just want to make sure if for some reason we have to make a quick turn to a virtual fair, kids could have a digital notebook this year. So I don't know, Crystal, or what your students have done in the past, but if choosing a topic is a hard topic for many students. Um, so it's challenging. And so we figured we'd have some suggestions here to help alleviate the frustrations they have when they do pick a topic. And if they're not interested in it, it can make for a very long science fair process. So they definitely want to be interested in the process. The biggest thing to follow is making sure we follow safety rules that the state has, state regional fairs, and also your school, what safety rules are in place. And in our manual, and also on one of the forms, it does list kind of the main points that are not allowed for projects. So for instance, you can't ingest or inhale anything. So many kids are like, oh, I'm going to put this and have everyone smell something. Not allowed. Or the other big one is they want to swab surfaces and see what type of bacteria, or if bacteria grows. That's another no-no, just because you don't know what type of bacteria you are growing. So basically, we want to follow the rules, give students an overview of the rules, and then also to share with students traits of a good experimental topic. You don't want something to be too general, or not too general. Also to have students be able to generate questions that they can figure out what's a good independent variable, what's the dependent variable. Sometimes it is difficult to come up with an original idea. So you could offer students opportunities to change the variable if the topic is common. Oftentimes students do that. They might find a topic on Science Buddies, which is on my next slide, but there's ways around they could make it their own. And then it also has to be measurable. That's a big thing with science fair projects, or if it's doing the engineering design process, they have to build, test, evaluate their prototype. And we like to suggest at least 100 data points. Quoting another middle school teacher, she says, data is like money. The more you have, the better when you are doing projects. And especially judges are used to looking for lots of data for students.
I think one thing I've seen with that, with some of the engineering projects, is in terms of testing and evaluating, is making sure that that students, obviously they can't necessarily test an engineering thing 100 times, but making sure they're testing enough. I've seen some projects where they do it once, maybe twice, and making sure that they're testing with different variables.
When choosing a topic, students can work together up to groups of 3. But you want to make sure that you're going to be working with the student for a while. So we always like to tell students that when they start to pick who their partners are going to be, like, you're stuck with them. And also keep in mind cost of supplies and accessibility. They might want to do some outrageous experiment that costs a lot of money. So that's just once they figure out choosing a topic, they want to make sure it is feasible. And then a timeline, make sure when they start their project, they'll be able to complete it and get all their data by the time your school fair is, or regional fair and state fair is. And I know Becca has a sample timeline we have linked in there as well. Here's just some resources that teachers have found helpful to kind of help students get started, because we want them to have what they're interested in. So there's lots of resources to help with that decision making. So students can kind of start brainstorming. I put Jamboard there. They could, write 2 of their main topics and have other students or friends post suggestions or comments. I'm kind of jumping down to the bottom there. They can rank their topics of interest, cross out stuff that couldn't be measured, focus on their top 3, list questions about each topic. Science Buddies does have a topic selection wizard that, kind of goes by what students are interested in. But the thing with that is a lot of other students use Science Buddies as well. So that's one, it's good to help get an idea, but you definitely want to make it your own project. How Stuff Works is a great website students can go to. Education.com also has some ideas. hats topic evaluation. So basically that one is you kind of put a different hat on of each thing, you know, you're looking to do. Like one could be like devil's advocate, like, okay, why wouldn't this project be a good one? Is it logical? Am I optimistic about it? How do I feel about it? Would I be able to manage the process? And it's just a good way to figure out what's the difficulties and challenges. Is there any new ideas? So that's a good one students could start with. It's a nice Google Doc. Students could start to help narrow down a topic or see what they would like. And then here's just a sample of what, you know, brainstorming looked like for a student in another district. They were looking at what interested them.
I like that. I just noticed at the top is what do I not want to do? And we had a discussion about that when you're like, I don't know what I could do. I could do everything. And sometimes it is helpful to actually start with a negative of, well, if you know, what do you know you don't
want to do this?
Yeah. So these were just a couple more resources I wanted to point to. So this video on YouTube, which is on the YouTube channel for the science fair, is Ma Sci Fair. And there's a video on brainstorming and question generation. And I just run through where to find different resources that were provided. And then this is one of the folders on the Science Fair Ready Google Drive. And it's a folder of brainstorming activities. And a lot of these were contributed by middle school teachers. So they are grade appropriate for those schools. I've had conversations as well. If you're familiar with the Right Question Institute, which is based locally, but does work nationally as well. They have a format called the question formulation technique, or QFT. That's an inquiry-driven process for formulating questions and thinking through problems. And so there's a lot of these resources are aligned with that, but specifically the question generation phase document that kind of walks through the steps.
And then now just moving on to our science fair notebook or journal. So just some quick basic requirements of it. Like I said, bound notebooks are great this year, or Google Docs or an online documentation. I have some links in here for different formats or templates for online ones people have used. There were some great ones last year. I think even in your district, there were some amazing ones kids either put together or found out there. So I'm not going to go through every single one, but, you know, obviously you want it in chronological order, initial the pages. Everything is usually handwritten. Granted, we're doing if it is a Google Doc, that's fine. And there should always be a table of contents, include your name, title of your experiment in there as well on the front cover. I enjoyed when I looked at some of the projects from last year, looking through their lab notebooks. The kids did an amazing job with them. Yep. And this is just kind of different sections for the notebook. You know, obviously we're going to start with the brainstorming. We'll start then once, you know, your topic is approved, and then you need to figure out you have to research, obviously, then figure out what your purpose, your question, hypothesis, what's your experimental design, include pictures or drawings of what you're doing, data tables, and then they need to do analysis of what their project was about and then come up with their conclusion of experimental results. We do ask for works cited as well. And then this whole template makes, and you will know this, makes for your lab report. Basically, they'll take everything that they've done in their notebook to turn it into their lab report, which is needed for judging as well. And then these are just some different templates, Google Docs. Google used to have a science fair document, but it's not on their website anymore, but there is one through Arduino. I haven't been able to find it, but there is one. But this Google slide is a nice example. And then just Google Docs that were kind of set up by each of the different sections. And Penzu is another online documentation tool scientists use in the real world to keep track of their notebook and journals.
Great, and I'll make a PDF of this and share with the video so that people can click on the links.
Perfect.
Great, so we'll just skip the questions and we can stop recording and then get into more details. So.